Look at that cozy suburban house with the white picket fence, the very thing you've been sold for decades as the pinnacle of the American dream. In 2026, that house has ceased to be an asset, it has become a concrete anchor chained around your neck. The problem isn't just that prices have reached the stratosphere, it's that you've been lured into the most sophisticated financial trap in human history. Today's US housing market isn't about building a family nest, it's about creating the perfect, predictable debtor who won't dare to speak up for the next 30 years. When you sign a mortgage agreement at 7 or 8% on a house whose price is artificially inflated by 40% due to the cheap money of the last decade, you aren't buying real estate. You are buying a debt prison. You are committing to pay the bank 3 times the value of that house, surrendering your best years, your energy, and your freedom in exchange for a pile of drywall and timber that will depreciate faster than you can finish a bathroom renovation. This bubble is held up by pure denial of reality, and those jumping into it now will be the last generation of owners whose wealth will be wiped out by the systemic reset. The Federal Reserve and institutional giants like BlackRock have created the perfect storm. First, they flooded the market with liquidity, sending prices skyrocketing to the point where an average teacher or engineer in Austin or Phoenix can no longer afford even a shack. Then, they slammed the trap shut by hiking rates. Now, you're faced with a choice: pay extortionate rent or strap yourself into a mortgage that consumes 60% of your take-home pay. The system lies to you, claiming that supply is limited. In reality, millions of homes are being held by institutional investors waiting for the moment to turn America into a renter nation. By buying now, you are competing with algorithms that have already calculated your failure. You are entering the market at the absolute peak, ignoring the fact that real wages are stagnating while inflation eats the remains of your savings. This isn't a real estate market, it's a casino where the rules are rigged in favor of the house, and your home is just a chip the bank will collect at the first sign of a major economic tremor. Let's take off the rose-colored glasses and run the math of your enslavement. Take a typical $450,000 US home. At current rates, over 30 years, you will pay the bank over $1 million. But that's just the beginning. Add in property taxes, which in some states are rising by 10 to 15% annually, insurance premiums that are becoming unaffordable in Texas or Florida due to climate risks, and endless maintenance costs. In the end, you are working for that house 10 months out of the year. Your house doesn't pay you, it constantly demands to be fed with your labor hours. You don't own the house, the bank owns you through the house. You become afraid to lose your job, afraid to change careers, and afraid to move because you were locked in by a low rate from the past or an unpayable debt of the present. This is the very definition of slavery, when your life decisions are dictated by the need to service debt for a place where you simply sleep between work shifts. A true asset puts money in your pocket, but your cozy home only sucks it out, leaving you with the illusion of wealth in the form of equity that only exists on a Zillow app screen. The Great Reset of 2026 will bring something far more terrifying than the 2008 crisis. Back then, it was a crisis of bad loans, now, it's a crisis of zero liquidity and currency devaluation. When the bubble pops, and it will, as mass layoffs in tech and finance make servicing these bloated mortgages impossible, home prices will plummet, but your debt will remain exactly the same. You will find yourself underwater, where your loan balance exceeds the market value of the home. This time, the government won't come to the rescue of homeowners, it will only save the banks. You will realize that your asset has become a liability that is impossible to sell without a massive loss. Mobility is your ultimate weapon in a changing world, but a mortgage strips you of that weapon. You will be tethered to a depreciating property in a city with a dying economy, unable to pack up and leave for where the opportunities are. The system wants you stationary and predictable, and a mortgage is the best way to nail you to the floor. In an era of transformation, the winner isn't the one with the biggest house, but the one with the most flexible capital. We are entering a period where owning a physical suburban home will be a sign of financial illiteracy. Why freeze hundreds of thousands of dollars in bricks when the world is shifting toward a digital economy and remote work? Free people in 2026 invest in land that can provide food, in skills that cannot be confiscated, and in liquid assets that don't require paying taxes just for the fact of their existence. Renting isn't throwing money away, it's a fee for your freedom of maneuver and the absence of responsibility for rotting pipes and leaking roofs in a system that is about to reset. You must stop measuring your success by square footage. True sovereignty is the ability to pack a suitcase in an hour and know that your assets don't depend on a local municipality's decision to hike taxes or a bank's decision to freeze your credit line. Don't let social pressure and old fairy tales about stability drive you into the pen. Face the truth, tomorrow morning, you could wake up in a world where your house is worth half as much, while your utility bills and taxes have doubled. In that moment, you will realize that all these years you weren't accumulating wealth, you were just paying for the right to call yourself an owner in someone else's game. Your signature on a mortgage agreement today is voluntary consent to be a battery for a financial system that despises you. The Great Reset will wipe out the middle class, leaving only those who own resources and those who are buried in debt. Don't become a statistic. Refuse the role of the greater fool in this pyramid scheme. Your freedom is worth far more than the dubious joy of possessing overvalued real estate. Be vigilant. Be mobile. Own reality, not debt. The time to choose between a beautiful facade and true independence is running out.